Tuesday, the week moves on. Had a great day yesterday in the studio with Gustavo Borner was engineering and the artist was Leon Greco in Argentina. And it was a funny session, you know, I mean, just from the standpoint. I was in a room, Vinny Colaiuta was in another room, Gustavo was in the control room, and Leon and his co-producer with him were in Argentina. So we were talking back and forth on the screen and stuff. It's just another world. I mean, this has been going on for a while, but now it really, if this stuff's happening, it seems to be the way. And interesting. But we got 7 tracks cut yesterday, and it really sounds great, really good. And the fun part for me is I get to work with Vinny again today on another project with Larry King. Now, it's not that Larry King, but it's actually funny. I did an album with that Larry King's wife. I think it's Sean King, I think is her name. It's a long time ago. But she was a singer, maybe still is. And we had a great time in the studio. She was really delightful. You know, we had a good time. Larry came down, hung out at the session and everything. But this is another Larry King. I've done a bunch of projects with Larry over the years. And he called, and it's some group that he's working with, and they wanted me and Vinny to come in and do bass and drums on a couple of tracks today. So I'm going to head over in a couple hours. It's only, I don't know, what time is it now? 9:40. I don't have to leave till noon for that one, so that'll be good. And then tomorrow I've got to head into Hollywood to be a guest on a TV show. You know, I'm going to talk about my book and the world we live in and what's going on, and then they can just erase it after I leave, I guess. It's up to them. Who knows? And then Thursday we start Kate Taylor's album. And that'll be for the next 3 days. That I'm looking forward to. I adore Kate. And every time she comes to Pasadena and plays, there's a really nice music venue coffee shop here in Pasadena, and she always makes that one of her stops, and I love going and seeing her. It's real intimate room, you know, maybe 80 people in it, and I love playing rooms like that. So, but yesterday, when I finished up yesterday's video, I said, oh, maybe I'll visit John Kay from Steppenwolf. And I was kind of all prepared to do that and had some stories about that. But I'm going to save all those because I turned a page again and wound up in another place. And I just was thinking back to 2014, and I did an album with Mike Oldfield. And Mike had, his big hit was Tubular Bells, which was used as a soundtrack for The Exorcist. But he's done a lot of albums and really an interesting musician, composer, guitarist, and all that. So we ended up at Village Recorders, and Steve Lipson was producing it, and I knew his work from Annie Lennox, and I think he did some work with Jeff Beck. He's a guitarist also, but really kind of an all-round guy behind the console. He really knows what's going on, and he's really good. And it was a really fun little band. It was John J.R. Robinson on drums, and Matt Rawlings on keyboards, and Michael Thompson on guitar, and myself. And the thing that was really cool was they had a guy doing kind of temp vocals for them on the tapes, on the tracks that got sent to us. Luke Spiller. And as soon as I saw, I don't think he was sure if he was going to use Luke's vocals on the whole album. But as soon as we heard him, we just kept saying, you got to use this guy. He's amazing. He really sounds great. And he ended up being the guy on the album. And then when I finally saw a video, because he wasn't there when we were doing the tracks, and I see him, and the dude is like a young guy, quintessential rock singer. Man, he's got the look. I mean, he could have been in Bohemian Rhapsody so easily. He's got such a Freddie vibe about him. So that was a real treat to have to discover this guy. I forget the name of the band he's in, but and it may have changed since 2014. But he was great. And the thing that was funny though is the band, we were all sitting in Village Record. It's just kind of like what I went through with Leon yesterday. We're all sitting there, and Mike Oldfield is on screen because he was at his home in the Bahamas. So, I mean, we're sitting there and talking to him, and there he is, just, the beach out there and everything, and we're sitting in there grinding away in the studio. So it's a funny world. Things are just kind of all a little bit askew, but we had a great time because having Steve at the helm was great because he had already done the pre-production with Mike, so there was already a to and fro between them in the studio, and it was great. It's a really good album, and but we did this one. This is one of the songs off of it called "Sailing." So I thought I would jump in here today and do a Mike Oldfield song that we did. It's just fun. I'm rediscovering all this stuff for myself, so it's pretty cool. I'm kind of getting a little, just going through things and discovering things I completely, not to say forgot about, but they ended up on the back shelf for a little bit. So let's see how this one goes. sailing Mike Oldfield. Check out Luke Spiller though. Guy is like, he's just got it. You know, there's those guys that just have that thing about them that kind of just, it's really, it's not a thing you can put into words, but as soon as I saw him, I went, this guy's great. This guy's really great. Young cat, but boy. So let's see, what's happening here now? So there's a bunch of stuff on the Mike Oldfield album that's was really good. So maybe I'll visit a few things on there, and then, but I want to get back to John Kay, because John was really a real special experience. Because, like I said before, that I was a huge Steppenwolf fan, and the thing that was great was they cut that, like the Magic Carpet Ride and those songs, at American Recorders down on Ventura Boulevard, Richie Podler's studio, and my friend Matt Serletic ended up buying American, and the studio ended up up off of Mulholland Drive up in the hills in kind of, I guess it might have been Woodland Hills, that end of the other end of the San Fernando Valley. For anybody who's in the area that knows all this stuff, it was way up above Mulholland. But the thing that was great was when you'd walk in the studio, that was the B3 organ that was on Magic Carpet Ride and all that Steppenwolf stuff sitting right in the studio. You know, they're still using it. And then that thing just had a bark to it that was so beautiful. There's nothing quite like B3 organ. It's one of my absolute favorite instruments, unless you have to move it up 3 flights of stairs. Then it sucks. But it's like the old days when I had an SVT with 1610s, and we get called for a gig, and they said, oh, it's upstairs. And you're dragging your crap with you. And man, that was a tough one. It was a tough period. I had an SVT and an MGA, and I remember having to drive that thing to gigs. And sometimes it was raining, but you couldn't put the top up because the amp was too big. So you'd arrive at the gig, everything was wet. You had your amp head in a plastic bag. And the good old days. I mean, I could do a whole channel about all that stuff. It's like, man, it's crazy stuff. Getting your gear thrown in a lake because you asked to get paid at the end of a gig for a fraternity party, and the drunk frat guys, rather than pay you, just took all your stuff and threw it in on the water and laughed and left while you're there wading in trying to pull out your gear that's just been destroyed. And those are the wonder years, the formative years. But now, and on the track, on the track I just did, this bass is my signature Warwick. It's based on the Warwick Star Bass 2. And I didn't have this at that point, so on that track I used the Warwick Star Bass 2, and that is still a lovely instrument. That's what turned me onto Warwick. And this one is just great. This is the one that has my special producer switch on it. Here, let me shut this thing off for a second and I'll show you. So when the producer asks you for something that we're quite sure what he wants, I have this switch here that was built in. So let me see if you're seeing it. I can't tell where I am. Oh, here, let me go this way. So they ask for a sound, and you go, well, let's try this one. No, I don't like that one. Well, let's try this one. No, I don't like that one. No, that's still not working for me. How about this one? Well, if none of those work, how about this one? Now, it doesn't do anything. It's just a battery and some lights. But we played around with it. It's on the neck. I don't know if you can see. If I turn on this switch, it lights up the dots on the side of the neck, which is nice in a dark place. I turn it on and it kind of gives me an underglow and makes my head look like it's floating around the room. So, but it's a beautiful instrument. I love working with Dingwall And Warwick has been great because the two instruments are diametrically opposed. So I don't think there's any cross-pollination between them. This is a chambered 4-string, semi-acoustic, and the Dingwall is a solid body 5-string with fan fretting. The only similarity between the two is the mandolin fret wire, which is what I have on all my basses, which is the smallest fret wire you can get. And I absolutely love it. I mean, guys are used to looking at big jumbo frets on a bass, and on this, they are just little thin little frets on it. And on this one, what we did was we also changed the body angle. That's why it's, instead of just a hollow body, it's a chambered body, because I wanted to have this profile. It's hard to tell. I wanted to be able to have this drop a bit from my arm on it rather than sitting out on an edge. It's a more comfortable bass to play. So thank you, Warwick, for coming up with such a beautiful instrument. And Marcus Spangler is the designer at Warwick, and he's the one who came up with all the modifications on the Starbase. I mean, we changed the body and a bunch of stuff on it. But so that's gear. I'm tending to wander off again here. So I am going to go take care of a few things, and then I will load my truck again and head off to the studio with Larry King. And these are two really fun rock tunes. He sent me kind of a demo. So those will be really fun to dig in, and especially with Vinny. You know, Vinny Colaiuta is such a treasure to play with. There's nobody quite like Vinny. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And then I will see you all tomorrow. And I'm going to go find out what my schedule is to go into Hollywood and do this TV show tomorrow. See what that's all about. So lots of little things going on. And also please, if you're not registered, register to vote, and vote. It's one of the greatest gifts a democracy can give its citizens, is a right to kind of, you know, determine their destiny. And you know, don't sit it out. Don't be lazy. I mean, I talk to people all the time. I go, look, you'll spend 3 days in line at an Apple store waiting for a new iPhone. Just take the little bit of time it takes to get out there and participate in democracy. It's a gift. Not that many people in the world have an opportunity to enjoy. So don't be lax about this, or certainly if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, don't bitch about it, because you did nothing to move the process forward. So please get out and vote. And again, thank you to all of the people working in every capacity to try to normalize the world as much as we can. It kind of broke my heart yesterday. The Regal Theater chain, which is a huge theater chain around the country, just folded. They just said they're not showing movies. They can't afford it anymore to keep these places afloat. So they're going down, and who knows what's going to happen with the other theater chains, and whether or not the opportunity to just go out and see a movie is going to be there when this is all over. You know, so many businesses that we took for granted are folding. So hard to tell what the future is going to be, but there will be a future. That's inevitable. But what form it's going to take, we just don't know yet. So take good care of yourselves. All my best wishes to everybody out there. You're in my thoughts and my heart, and I really appreciate everybody who comes to the channel. And talked to Blue yesterday. More things are getting dialed in on the book, because there's so many things. I just thought, I'll make a book. But now we're looking at, UPS and all the business licenses and all the things that come with this. But it's getting all the ducks in order. And pretty soon I'll be able to put up the website and start taking advanced orders with some fun perks for the first. Once I launch it, there's going to be some perks for like the first 10 days of sales that'll go away after the 10 days, and then those will step to another level. So I'll fill you in on all that stuff, but I'm excited about this. It's really an adventure, something I never thought I'd experience at this point in my life, and it's got the juices flowing. So take care. I will see you tomorrow.